Yo, what's going on? It's Mitchell, your emo voice coach. Today we are going to learn how to sing like Chester Bennington from Linkin Park, specifically the song Numb. We're going to look at two videos today. One of them is a live performance of Chester singing, and the other is the isolated vocal track. I think this is really helpful because when you're learning how to sing, especially if you're using somebody else's technique to inform your own, it's really important to know what the raw vocal sounds like versus what the recorded and processed vocal sounds like. We're going to separate this into four categories. Number one is going to be the tones. Number two is going to be the singing itself. Number three is going to be the distortion. And the fourth is going to be smushing it all together so that you can sing nu metal like Linkin Park. Phase number one, the tones.
The tones? The tones!
All right, so we have the isolated vocal track for Numb. Let's just dive right into this thing.
I'm tired of being what you want me to be, feeling so faithless, lost under the surface.
Great start so far. I'm noticing a couple of things right off the bat. Number one is that Chester is not singing very loudly. This is a rock genre, it's nu metal, and he does have a big sound at times, especially in the recorded version of this song, but he's singing nice and quietly. Before we dive into the tone itself, I also want to point out that we're only hearing one version of Chester's voice right now. This is really important because later on, we're going to hear multiple versions of Chester's voice stacked on top of each other, which creates a bigger sound, but for now, we're just hearing one. All right, diving into his tone, let's listen to this one more time.
What you want me to be, feeling so faithless, lost under the surface.
What I hear right away is a bright forward tone. I hear a little bit of a thin tone. You know, he's not singing really loud, so it's a little bit of a softer tone. Lastly, I'm hearing a little bit of mouth nasality. Now, nasality is a little bit of a buzzword in the teaching world or in the singing world. People tend to think nasality is a bad thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but there are two types of nasality. We have your nose nasality, which is like when you feel like you're really talking through your nose, and then mouth nasality, which is when you feel a little bit more of that masky nasal energy, but it's just in your mouth. If you want to experience pure mouth nasality, I want you to say, yummy, as nasty as you can. I know it's a little bit weird to do that. It's weird to take up space with your voice in an annoying way. When you go, yummy, you'll feel the sound in your face. I want to be a little bit cautious about telling you where you should be feeling sensations, but more often than not, yummy is going to bring some sensation to the front of your face versus the back of your head. If you want to feel sound in the back or in the back of your vocal tract, like where your throat is, try using a yawny sound. I think of like Patrick Star from SpongeBob. Hey, SpongeBob! Hi, SpongeBob! The SpongeBob! Who's SpongeBob? So if you're having a hard time finding that yummy, start with hey, SpongeBob, and then go yummy, and see if you can go back and forth. You can feel the sound or the energy ping from front to back. Now that we have a little bit of mouth nasality, I want to focus that energy into a more pointy sound. Chester's voice is on the smaller side, but it's not weak. He has this tone that really just kind of like focuses in on you like a laser, and it just hits you in the face. It's a little bit poignant, it's a little bit sharp, and one way that you can achieve that sharp pointed sound is to focus that mouth nasality or twang. And you can use your jaw or your lips or your mouth for this. Think about when dogs get a little bit angry. They start to make this really angry face and they show their teeth. I want you to make that angry dog face, show your teeth, and go, yum, yum, yeah. You should notice a couple things about this sound and sensation. First of all, it's a very clear sound. If we have sounds that are stuck in the back, like, they're a little bit breathier, a little bit airier, and they also lack a little bit of clarity. So we want a nice clear, You'll also feel a pocket of energy in the mask area. Up to this point, the sounds that we've been making are pretty extreme, and even though I'm going to sing the song like this, it's not going to be our end product. Oftentimes when you're learning how to sing, it's much more efficient to go way past the point you need to be at, go way too far, and exaggerate a tone or a sensation or a skill, and then when you're ready to perform, pull it back a little bit. So that's why I'm having you do the extreme, yummy, just so you can feel the limit of what you are capable of doing. There's a couple ways we can apply this tone when we're practicing the song. Number one would be to just sing the song as forward and nasal as you can. Again, we don't want it in your nose like this. We want it nice and clear, nice and bitey, like that angry dog. So we got something like this.
I'm tired of being what you want me to be.
Don't try to sound like Chester, just try to sound like the nasally version of you. I'm tired of being what you want me to be. Feeling so faithless, lost under the surface. I noticed a couple things about that sound. Number one, it's really forward. It's poignant. It takes up space. It's a little bit annoying, but it feels really focused. Try that a couple times. If you're having a hard time doing this, try singing it with a yawny voice in comparison so you can feel the difference. So, hey, I'm tired of being what you want me to be. I'm tired of being what you want me to be. Once you've sung it both ways, we can find somewhere in the middle. So if I were to sing this in a very natural tone, the way that I speak, I would sound something like this.
I'm tired of being what you want me to be.
Hey, I'm tired of being what you want me to be. My voice is a little bit on the darker side compared to Chester's, so if I want to have a tone that's a little bit more similar to his, I definitely need to amp up my twang or my whininess. I'm tired of being what you want me to be. I'm tired of being what you want me to be. Make sure that I'm balancing a little bit of that lax or more vulnerable delivery. I'm tired of being what you want me to be. I'm tired of being what you want me to be. Feeling so faithless, lost under the surface. If you're still struggling singing this song with some oral or mouth nasality, try singing the whole song on Ming. Ming, 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 ming. So take the melody and we'll go ming, 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 and sing the whole song that way, and then go back and put the words back in. I'm tired of being what you want me to be, feeling so faithless, lost under the surface. We've been talking about Chester's voice in the produced version of this song, so let's cross-reference this with a live version of Chester singing.
Tired of being what you want me to be. Feeling so faithless, lost under the surface.
Just by watching a few seconds of this, we see the same thing. He's really not delivering a whole lot. It's a nice, supported, and balanced sound, but it's a little bit on the thin side. I know I've already said this a couple times, but Chester has a smaller voice. I'm not saying that he has a weak voice, but in this genre, it's very common for rock vocalists to have smaller or thinner voices. His sound is a little bit more compressed. It's a little tighter. And there's nothing wrong with this. It's just part of the name of the game with this genre. If you're a singer that has a bigger, boomier voice, maybe like a medium to a medium-low voice, and your voice is naturally resonant, it can be helpful to imagine that the sound is living in your head instead of your chest. And I'm not necessarily just talking about head voice versus chest voice or mixed voice. I'm just thinking about where you're feeling the energy of the sound. One way you can do that is by widening your sound. Instead of, I'm tired of being what you want me to be, try singing it with a smile. I'm tired of being what you want me to be. We're naturally eliminating some of the lower frequencies when we smile and sing. One last thing that I noticed is that Chester does have some neck tension when he sings this song. And I'm not saying that in a way that throws shade at him or is discrediting his ability to sing. I'm just bringing it up so that you can realize that professional singers also have tension habits as well. You can tell by the bulging veins and some of the tension in his neck that he is experiencing some constriction or extra compression that might not be necessary. I love the way Chester sings, and I wouldn't ask for it to be any differently, and I think the majority of his fans feel the same. Just be wary that too much neck tension can make it a lot harder for you to sing. Instead of thinking about singing correctly or doing things the right way, it's more about being able to do things comfortably and sustainably. So if you're running into problems when you're singing this song, if the pitch is weak, if you feel like you're losing your voice, if the sound is too tight, try singing this in front of a mirror and looking for some neck tension. And I'll get into how we can alleviate this a little bit later. All right, let's unpack the singing. Let's take a look and see what's going on here. It sounds really nice. Everything's really accurate. One thing that I do want you to pay attention to is how much lighter this sounds compared to the produced version.
There becomes so tired, so much more aware. I'm becoming there.
There's a pretty big difference, right? We're not being lied to in this studio version, but it's more produced. In addition to this, Chester didn't have to sing 30 minutes of material before he got to this. Singing in a live setting is much different than singing in a studio setting. Let's take a look at this live setting again, unpack a couple of things. First of all, you can see that he's sweating, which means he's working pretty hard. I don't know how hot it is at this live at New York City venue, but he's working. I'm not sure when in the set this is, but he could already be singing for 30 or 40 minutes at this point. So you can tell by his stance that he's locked in, his core is locked and loaded, and he's actually not using as much distortion in this live version as he does in the studio version, which is totally fine. I mentioned earlier that his voice is on the lighter side, and I'm not saying that he has a weak voice. I'm just saying that it's a little bit smaller. It's not taking up a ton of oral space. So the volume, we don't need to sing too loudly to sing like Chester. The second thing that I want to bring up is that he's singing in a more mixed voice. Mixed voice is a registration term that refers to somewhere in the middle between head voice or falsetto and chest voice. Side note, I'm going to use terms like head voice and falsetto interchangeably. That's not necessarily the right way or the wrong way to talk about it. It's just the way that I like to talk about it. Lastly, we do see some compression and neck tension showing up in this performance. His head is a little bit on the pushed forward side, so I'm going to give you some ways that you can alleviate that neck tension or compression if it's something that you struggle with and want to learn how to lighten up a little bit. Genres like rock and metal can be tricky to sing because they require a lot of coordination. A lot of singers will do a lot of work below the sternum in the breathing apparatus of the voice and not a lot of work in the actual voice. And this is a great way to approach things. Artists like Chester would play sets for over an hour, probably 2 hours. I never went to a Linkin Park show, but I'm pretty sure they play 2-hour sets. And your voice is going to get very tired during that time if you don't have a game plan on how to preserve it. So we want to do a lot of work in the support system of the voice, which is below the sternum. Just because our breathing in support is locked in doesn't mean that our sound has to be loud. In fact, to sing quietly, it usually takes more support or more effort in the support system. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so here's what I want you to try doing. I want you to draw a line from your chin with your finger all the way down to your sternum. Your sternum is where your rib cage meets. So if you find the bottom of your rib cage and you trace up to where it meets, there's this cartilage chunk. And right below it, it's fleshy, it's squishy. I want you to take your fingers and push into this squishy bit. And now I want you to pretend that you are a snake. Just give me a nice sss, okay? And now pretend that you're like a really, really angry snake.
I'm a snake.
Now pretend that you're a really, really angry snake, and I want you to hiss as hard as you can. Sss. Sss. If you push your fingers in and hiss as hard as you can, sss, you're likely to feel your fingers be pushed out. We're creating some activation in a part of the body I call the jellies. You can call it whatever you want. Your diaphragm lives here. I think anatomy is a little bit confusing, and I don't think you have to think of it as the diaphragm if you don't want to. But if that helps, go ahead. When we're singing, especially in genres like rock and metal, we want to make sure that we have a strong relationship with these jellies. The harder you activate this part of your body when you sing, the more control you'll have over the airflow. The amount of airflow and the intensity of the airflow is what's going to directly influence the volume of your sound. So having a lot of control over how much you send up is going to be really efficient. The hardest part is calibrating how much you actually need to squeeze and how much air you actually have to send up and how hard you have to do it. That's what makes breathing tricky. I think it's really helpful to start with too much and scale it back until you find something that's more efficient. So we have that spot right below your sternum, but you can also think of activation in your rib cage. This is the top of my rib cage. I'm going to go a little bit lower off the camera to the bottom. So in that lower part of your rib cage, you can also feel some activation if you do that hiss. So now we've got like a whole band of energy across, and all of it's below the sternum. Here's what I want you to try. Let's do a really strong hiss like we just did, and let's hold that intensity, but let's make it quieter and quieter. I still have a lot of activation in my jellies, but I'm able to hold and control my tone or my breath flow. Let's try to apply this to some singing. Let's just do it with the beginning of the song. So without any support, I'm tired of being what you want me to be. Doesn't sound bad, but I don't have a lot of control. Let's lock in all the way. I'm tired of being what you want me to be. You may never know that I was supporting so hard, but I definitely felt like I had a lot more control. Again, just because I was squeezing hard doesn't mean that my sound was going to be loud. So let's keep going. Feeling so faithless, lost under the surface. Now when I did that, I did feel like I was squeezing a little too hard. So I'm going to scale it back just a little bit. So if this is my 10 out of 10, maybe let's bring it back to like a 6 or a 7. I'm tired of being what you want me to be. Feeling so faithless, lost under the surface. Even though this is the easiest part of the song, I still need to support or the sound isn't going to be vibrant. It's more likely to fall flat and I'm more likely to lose control. Number 2, we got the mixed voice. I know I mentioned registration earlier, so let's go through that.
Every step that I take is another mistake to you.
Caught in the undertow, just caught in the...
We have this really bright lyrical line. It doesn't sound like Chester's singing really hard or really loud, but it cuts. The sound is still very vibrant. It's full of energy and life. If I try to sing this in my chest voice, it's going to sound a little bit too heavy. Let's see what that sounds like. Every step that I take is another mistake to you. Kind of feels like I'm trying to lift something really heavy that's a little too heavy for me and then walk around my house with it. I can do it, but it's pretty uncomfortable. It also sounds kind of bad. If I try to sing this in my head voice, every step that I take is another mistake to you. It's almost effortless. I don't feel like I'm doing any work, but the sound is pretty lackluster. I kind of sound like a 12-year-old going through puberty in choir. If that's you, I hear your trauma.
My voice cracks a lot, but everything will be all right.
So how do we get them working together for a sound that's somewhere in between? When we sing in chest voice, we're using the thicker part of our vocal folds. When we sing in the head voice, we're using the thinner part. If we can get them to collaborate and work together, then we're going to be able to get a sound that's a little bit more in the middle, like Chester was just using. Every step that I take, every step that I take. It's a little bit of a lighter version of chest voice and it's a meatier version of head voice. One of my favorite ways to discover this sensation is to trick your body into doing it naturally. I want you to try going back and forth between head voice and chest voice. Sounds ridiculous, right? Maybe your voice cracks like mine does, maybe it doesn't. It's okay. Don't worry about that. This leads me to one of my favorite exercises, is to take the distance between head voice and chest voice and gradually make it smaller over a bunch of repetitions to the point where your voice gets a little bit confused and it's not sure what to use, chest voice or head voice, so it just uses both. The exercise looks something like this. I've got my piano, I've got my notes. I'm gonna go between octaves. So I'm on an F, This is just where my voice likes to start cracking. And I'm gonna go from head voice down to chest voice. Wee. And I'm gonna move around in this area. Wee. Don't worry about what it sounds like, just worry about what it feels like. It should feel efficient and light. Wee. Great. In theory, you would want to do this for like 3 to 5 minutes. You want to go up and down by half steps. Once you've done this, I want you to take that distance of an octave and let's make it smaller. What if it was a fifth? So we're singing something like this now. Wee. And what if it was faster too? Wee. I sound like Tarzan. I'm going from one register to the other on my body's terms. Instead of trying to smooth over those voice cracks, I'm just letting them happen because it feels light and loose. Wee. I'm gonna make the distance even smaller, maybe a major third. Wee. Once I've done all of these, I'm ready for the final one, which is to switch between head voice and chest voice on one note. Wee. Wee, 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 wee. This may sound crazy, but we're letting our voice switch registration on its own terms. And as we start to smooth out the registration, we're going to be left with something that's a little bit different than chest voice or head voice. Wee. It sounds a little bit like this. It kind of reminds me of like Rick and Morty.
I ain't swallowing no centipede.
Your voice is like really cracky, but it's also very malleable. And to talk like this does not feel like it's straining my voice at all. It actually feels really good. If you're newer to registration work or mixed voice, don't expect that you'll be able to do all of these steps right away. But I definitely recommend adding this to your practice routine. Start with that full octave and keep practicing making the difference smaller and smaller until you're left with this more malleable, yodely sound. If you are able to produce this, you may be wondering, okay, great, well, how is this useful if I'm going to have to sing Linkin Park? Because I don't want to sing, I've become so numb. Well, that's a good point. Let's see how we can clear this up. I mentioned earlier that allowing your voice to sing on its own terms is a really efficient way to sing. And that's why I have people do these registration exercises when I work with them one-on-one. By allowing the voice to take the path of least resistance, you're able to sing in a way that's more sustainable and more comfortable. If you get used to singing the song this way, and then slowly smoothing out the kinks, you're going to be able to sing with a little bit more weight on the voice. It's going to sound a little bit more realistic. So if I was learning this song for a cover band, I'm going to practice the song like this first. Every step that I take is another mistake to you. I know it sounds bad, but all I'm focusing on is making sure that it feels good first. Once it feels good, I can start to add on a little bit of weight at a time until the sound smooths itself out. Every step that I take is another mistake to you. And finally, every step that I take is another mistake to you. Let's put our tone back on. Every step that I take is another mistake to you. And suddenly we have a little bit more of that Chester quality in our voice. Lastly, I know I talked about tension before. I'm not necessarily saying that Chester had this horrible neck tension issue or constriction problem. I was just pointing out that that's what was happening in the video so that you know that even the best singers also deal with tension. If you feel like your throat is closing up when you try to sing or it's tightening a lot, here's something that you can do that might help loosen it up. One of my favorite ways to get rid of constriction is to sing with a wiggling jaw. So I want you to take your fingers, put them on your face, and just go back and forth. And push your jaw around. If it doesn't want to move, you can also move it manually. Maybe drop your jaw a little bit, and then wiggle it around. This is a great way to alleviate some tension down here that can cause constriction. So if we can create some fluidity in our body when we sing instead of holding things so tightly, we're also going to combat that neck tension more easily. So we got our jaw wiggle, and we got some movements, and we're just feeling good. And we're gonna sing the song with our nice mixed voice that we just used. Every step that I take is another mistake to you. And then we're going to put the words back on. Every step that I take is another mistake to you. And things feel a little bit better. You can sing through the whole song with that jaw wiggle, or you can sing through the whole song with that neck movement, and that might help things loosen up a little bit for you. All right, now the moment that we have all been waiting for, the distortion. Chester is very famous for not only his screams, but his melodic distortion, or singing with a gritty voice. So I'm gonna unpack what's going on and give you some information about how you can use a little bit of that distortion in your voice as well. Let's take a look at this chorus.
I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. I'm becoming this, all I want.
Okay, that's classic Linkin Park sound. Before we even look at the distortion, it's important to notice that we are no longer listening to just one Chester anymore. You can hear harmonies and you can hear doubling. This is a really helpful production technique that will amplify the intensity of a voice at any given part of the song. Usually it's in the choruses or at the bridge or any of the climactic parts of the song. One more time, just see if you can hear multiple layers.
I'm so numb, I can't feel you there.
Right there you hear, I can't feel, I can't feel. You hear like 3 or 4 voices doing that.
I'm so numb, I can't feel you there.
The reason that I'm bringing this up is because the type of distortion that Chester uses has a lighter body feel than most people think it does. We're not squeezing and pushing out the sound, or we're not even yelling. We're really letting the coordination do the work for us. And in its raw form, this distortion also isn't the most powerful thing in the world. When you record it and when you layer things on top of one another and you edit them correctly, it's going to sound a lot bigger. So if you want to be an artist who plays live shows, I highly recommend leaning into the lightness of the sound instead of the power of the sound. With that out of the way, let's talk about fry. Chester mainly uses fry distortion. It's called fry distortion. It has a similar body feel to this croaky sound that we make, but it actually feels quite a bit different than just amplifying that. There are 2 ways that you can use fry distortion. You can use it in a pure scream, like the given up 17-second long monstrosity of a scream that he does, or you can use it melodically like he's using in this song. It doesn't really matter which one you learn how to do first. Some people will say you have to learn the pure fry scream first. Some people will say you have to learn it melodically first. I think that you should learn whatever you want to do first. And if you're really struggling with one, give the other one a try. Because we're not hearing a lot of pure fry screaming in this song, I'm gonna save that for another video because I'm gonna come back to Linkin Park in the future. But we're just gonna focus on the melodic distortion for this one. Let's get started with building this sound. First, you need to be able to make a vocal fry sound. If you can't do that, here's one way. I want you to just say, fa, and then I want you to drop in pitch until you can't sing anymore. Fa, I'm Batman. You'll be left with a fry sound or a creaky door sound. When you're producing this, you should not feel like you're pushing. You don't have to work hard to make this sound. You kind of just want to let it happen. Fa. Once you can make this sound, try talking with that sound. Hey, what's up? If I talk on the lyrics, I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. That's step 2. Step 3 is to use fry in your falsetto or head voice. So, fa, you want to get comfortable making this sound. It may take a few minutes. It may take a day. It may take a week. It doesn't matter. Just don't give up and keep making this sound. Also very Rick and Morty, I'm not going to lie. Now we're going to let go of the fry, and we're going to revisit that yodel that we did earlier. I want you to go from a head voice sound into a chesty sound on the same note, like this. Fa, fa. Now we're going to do that while holding the fry. Fa, uh-oh, fa. Oh, it really feels like I'm going to choke. I feel like I can't produce sound and things are getting stuck. And that's really common when you're learning how to use fry distortion. Luckily, we just spent all that time yodeling, and we know that letting your voice crack is letting your voice work on its own terms. So we're going to get rid of some of that constriction by allowing the voice to yodel it away. Fa. It's stuck, but I'm gonna yodel. Let's try again. And you're gonna be left with this dial-up internet tone. I think I'm dating myself here. But it's just gonna sound like a bunch of noise is happening. And it's not necessarily going to feel like we're pushing very hard. It should feel light the same way that mixed voice does. It's not perfect, but it feels fine. It's not perfect, but it feels fine. This is a hybridized version of fry, or a melodic version of fry. From here, we want to sing the song with some of that fry. I've become so numb. I become so numb. I can't feel you there. This might take a bunch of tries, and you also might feel some tickling in your throat. If that happens, just know it's normal. You're not hurting yourself. You're probably not going to injure yourself. Just take a break and continue when you're feeling better. Let's play around with this some more.
Become so numb, I can't.
I've become so numb, I can't feel you there. Become so tired, so much more aware. What's cool is that this is a louder sound than when I would sing this normally. And I'm not necessarily singing any harder. There's two things happening. I'm singing in my mixed voice, whoa, I've become so numb, and I'm using this fry distortion sensation at the same time. When we do both of these at the same time, it's going to be louder, but it's not going to feel like you're pushing harder. Let's take a look at the depth of this fry distortion. If we go later into the song, things get a little bit more intense.
And I know I may
Oh yeah.
end up failing too.
The fry is a lot more pronounced, but it's not a pure scream because you can hear a melody, and I know I may end up failing too. So we know that Chester is still singing. He's not using a pure fry scream. One other thing that is hard to catch, but is really cool when you can, is that we are listening to more than one Chester. Okay, it sounds like it's just one voice. The fry creates a lot of energy, but we're actually listening to at least two, and you can hear it at the end of the bridge. Listen to the word disappointed.
You were just like me, with someone disappointed in you.
You can hear two voices say, disappointed in you! He may not be using a layer for all of this, but again, this is another example of where layering in a mix adds to the intensity. I mean, it's the end of the phrase, it's the apex of the song. They're definitely gonna want to use as much intensity as possible. So it's going to sound louder with two voices than it is with one. Another reason why you don't need to push so hard, you just need to sing a little bit smarter. Let's take a look at how he does this live. All right, he's using a lot less distortion. And the vocal is a little bit tight. It's a little bit on the smaller side. Again, that's what people like about Chester's voice, so it's totally okay. If you want to sing this a little bit more like the recording, here's what I recommend trying. We want to use a little bit more fry than we were using before. And one way that we can make this happen is by letting our voice break a little bit more. So we're gonna go to this bridge. We got, and I know. It's already pretty high, so I'm naturally a little bit cracky in that area, but that's good because we worked on mixed voice earlier. We know voice cracks are good. We got, and I know. Let's see if it could be crackier. And I know. By letting my voice crack, you can actually start to hear a little bit of extra distortion. And I know. Whoa, that's a really, really cool color to play with. What happens if we let our voice break a little bit while we're using that fry distortion? And I know, and I know, and I know. It sounds huge. We can use this at the apex of this bridge for a more intense sound. So we got that part where he says, you were just like me with someone disappointed in you.
With someone disappointed in someone just like me.
So we got, you were just like me. Nice healthy registration. We got our fry. You were just like me. And then we got a really intense fry distortion. You were just like me with someone disappointed in you. It sounds a lot like Chester. Even though it still sounds like me, I'm now singing in the style of Chester from Linkin Park. Now, if I sing this into a microphone and add some cool effects like compression and EQ and reverb, it's going to sound even more intense. Your favorite punk, metal, rock artists all have these voice effects added to their voices in post-production. And again, this is not the industry lying to you, it's just bringing out the most in a singer's voice so that things can sound as good as possible. Since we've been talking about production techniques, I thought it'd be cool to do a little mock-up of this so that you can see how production techniques affect the sound with this distortion. I did a quick flash cover of the bridge part of this song. Here's what the lead take sounds like with nothing on it. And I know that you were just like me with someone disappointed in you. All right. If you're a vocalist, it's never easy to listen to your raw vocals.
Oh, boo-hoo! Let me play a sad song for you on the world's smallest violin.
My ego aside, let's add some EQ on. I also added a little bit of pitch correction so that I don't have to listen to my mistakes. That you were just like me with someone disappointed in you. It's pretty similar, but I took all of the mud out. I amplified a little bit of the highs. This is probably not how you would want to EQ your voice if you were going to release something professionally, but I just got rid of the lows, add a little bit of the high to clean it up a little bit. Then I put on this other plugin that has a few things on it. It's got compression, which just squashes the wave. Compression is your best friend with distortion, so let's hear this with the compression on there. That you were just like me with someone disappointed in you. Without the compression. That you were just like me with someone disappointed in you. It just doesn't hit as hard. So we're gonna turn that on. I have a little tone pedal that's just going to add a little bit more excitement. I'm also going to throw on some reverb and delay, which just gives you more of an echo effect. That you were just like me with someone disappointed in you. This is really bringing the vocal to life, but it's also really bringing the distortion to life. Because when you sing with distortion, there's a lot of overtones or extra pitches created. By amplifying all of those extra pitches, the sound is going to sound more exciting. Lastly, I have a little bit of distortion that I'm going to throw on there. And let's see what this sounds like. That you were just like me with someone disappointed in you. It's a lot more intense. Now, I actually recorded a second take as well. In this one, I edited to be a lot smaller, but I amplified the effect. So there's more reverb and there's more of a distorted sound.
That you were just like me with someone disappointed in you.
So now they're gonna be stacked on top of each other.
Oh, that you were just like me with someone disappointed in you.
We have a lot more of an intense sound. Lastly, I do have this little scream right here that I did just to add some excitement to the end of the phrase. I did a cute little fry scream. So let's pop it all in, and this is what we got.
That you were just like me with someone disappointed in you.
You can't even hear the scream, but it's there and it's adding to the performance. So if you go into a high-end studio, you are going to have people who have been doing this for years and years, and they know exactly what to do with your voice. They know how to take it, they know how to make it sound stronger, they know how to make it sound more intense, they know how to make it sound weaker. If you can learn to sing and also learn a little bit about these effects, you'll be able to deliver a performance that's a little bit more efficient. If you know that effects are going to be added to your voice in post, you don't have to sing so hard. You can pull back a little bit. If you take anything away from this video, it's that rock singing shouldn't be oversung. The more you oversing or the more you push, the quicker you're going to fatigue. And when you get to the phase of your career where you're touring a lot, that is when you're going to start running into a higher risk of a vocal injury or just general discomfort. When you're on the road, you're already very tired, and the last thing you want to be worrying about is your voice holding up. So I highly recommend creating good habits for yourself now. Your body will thank you later on. We talked about the tones, we talked about the singing, we talked about the distortion. Now we got to put it all together. These are 3 elements that are going to take some time to develop. I like doing these videos to break down what's going on because I think it's fascinating. But in real life, it's going to take more than one afternoon of trying these exercises to really change your voice for the better. It's really important that when you make changes to the way you sing, you're consistent about it. Not only is it valuable to learn how to do new things with your voice, but it's also important to be consistent with how you condition your voice. If I was going to join a Linkin Park tribute band, my practice would implement these 3 elements that we talked about separately. Instead of trying to do everything at once, it's important to break down what you actually need to accomplish. I need to make sure that I'm singing regularly without excess neck tension and excess jaw tension. I need to make sure that I'm conditioning not just my mixed voice, but also my head voice and my chest voice, because those are 2 important pillars that mixed voice comes from. I also need to make sure that I'm practicing my breathing, and I need to make sure that I'm thinking about where do I need to breathe ahead of time. I often will make a breathing chart where I map out all of my breaths for a song so that my body can get used to singing something the same way over and over and over. When you've spent a lot of time developing these skills individually, it's a lot easier to troubleshoot. Because I've spent so much time thinking about my mixed voice, if that's not working properly, I'll know. Because I spent so much time building a relationship with my breathing, if that's not working, I'll know. If you don't want to practice all 3 of these things every day, try focusing on one every day and then rotating to the next one. It could take weeks, months, or even years to learn how to sing like this. So be patient with yourself and try to enjoy the process. I'm definitely going to be revisiting Linkin Park in the future, but that's all I have for today. This is my first long-form teaching video, and I had a really good time, but if you guys have any feedback or any artists or songs that you'd like to see me break down in the future, definitely comment below and subscribe.